Have you heard stories about the Coast Guard? If you haven't, welcome to Vet Hub, where I am your host, Lulu, and we talk about all things from military resources to dependents and interviews, and today I'm interviewing myself. One of the questions that I get asked a lot is what motivated me to even join the military? And the one thing that I could say is my family. There's a whole backstory on my parents and how they came to the United States, and it's a beautiful story, and I'll save that for another time. But ultimately, they were saved by the Coast Guard as they were trying to escape Cuba. Growing up, I knew that I wanted to be in the military I didn't know what branch, I just knew. When I was around 17, 18, I started doing my research. I went to every recruiter, Navy, Army, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard. At the time, Space Force was not a thing, so I didn't even apply for Space Force. I actually ended up doing a presentation per my dad's recommendations. So I presented to my father. I put it on a whole PowerPoint and everything. And I went down to the nitty-gritty of everything that I could possibly encounter in the military from each branch. And when it came down to it, I really liked the Coast Guard. That's how my story began. While we were in boot camp, we were given the opportunity of writing down places that we would like to go to. And it wasn't guaranteed, but it was just a recommendation. And in big, bold letters, I wrote Alaska and a white big boat. Unheard of in the Coast Guard. Nobody wants to go to Alaska or on a big white boat. I was stationed in Kodiak, Alaska, and it was a beautiful time. I met the most amazing people of my life in Alaska. My best friend Sanders is in Alaska, and I'll leave some pictures here. Kodiak, Alaska is a very interesting place. I remember very vividly when I reported with my sea bag. There was an intercom voiceover. All I hear is, please lock all doors and stay indoors. And I was like, what the heck is going on? What's happening? Are we going through an earthquake or tsunami? I need to know what's going on. Like, I just stepped foot in the building. They specified there is a grizzly bear outdoors of the barracks that I just reported to. So sure enough, I thought, whoa, man, that's so cool. I'm from Florida and I see bears all the time. Yeah, no. Florida bears and grizzly bears. Big difference. The face on this bear, it was maybe 2 feet wide. I might be exaggerating, but it felt really huge. And it was right behind me. Thank God there was a window in the way. I had no idea if this window was even capable of withstanding this bear and its cubs. Finally, the officer in charge took me to my barracks, and that was the last I've ever saw of the bear. So in the Coast Guard, there's specific roles that one plays that's freshly out of boot camp, and you're considered a non-rate. Pretty much you get tossed around to anybody and everybody is basically what that means. I was a seaman at the time, so there's a seaman and fireman, so I got stuck in the deck department, which was my niche. My responsibilities as a non-rate, whatever anybody above my pay grade told me to do. Basically what that was. And then after you get your orders to A school, which is where you learn about your specific job type, which I went to school for bosun's mate to learn about boat driving. I finally graduated as a petty officer, 3rd class, and my responsibilities changed, thank God. I was able to drive the boats and be in command of the boat, which was really cool experience for a leadership position. Most memorable experience, I would definitely have to say, I was standing night watch and I'm in Alaska. It is so cold. It was so cold. I was wearing 4 layers. I'm not even joking. I was wearing 4 layers. And there's a pipe that leads from the deck to the top floor that I was on, the top deck. The officer, the con at the time, piped me and he said jokingly, "Are you even standing your watch?" And I was like, "Of course I am. I don't see anything in front or behind us." He was like, "Well, turn around and look up." And sure enough, I turn around and look up. I see the northern lights. It was so beautiful. Everything that people say, how they describe it, is true. It's lights dancing in the sky. And that was probably one of my definitely most memorable experiences. I'll give you a few more memorable moments. So after A school, I was stationed in Washington. State, La Push. If you ever seen the movie Twilight, this is where I was. It's an Indian reserve and there's a surf station there. We get the general alarm. We go out. I was a crewman at the time. Crewman being, I did what the bosun's mate told me to do. We had a search and rescue mission. The two guys that decided to paddle out in their swimwear, Speedo. The waters in Washington State, freezing by the way. They decided to swim out on a not so beautiful day, and one of them got stuck on rocks and the other one got stuck on a private island. The island that is like, even the Coast Guard can't even go on this island without the authorization from the Indian chiefs. So this random guy is now stuck on the island where no one is supposed to be on because it's an Indian bureau where they're buried. So nobody's allowed on there. Our boat is not designed to even reach that shoreline. The guy basically had to swim back out to us in his Speedo. This poor guy, he was about this skinny. I just remember him struggling through the water, and I get told to go below and get ready to pick him up. So I'm looking at him like, I don't know if he's gonna make it. Like, he's struggling. So we throw the heaving line out and he grabs it and we were able to pull him on, and I just grab his hand. I'm pumped with adrenaline right now. I grab his hand, one arm, mind you, because the other arm I'm holding onto the boat, and I yank him, whole body, out of the water, and I yank him and I yeet him onto the boat, and he looks at me so stunned, and he's like, oh my god, are you Wonder Woman? You're so strong. No, I'm just fully jacked on adrenaline. It was great. It was a good recovery for him. He was fine, and his buddy was able to make it out of the rocks. He was still on land, so technically that was jurisdiction of the sheriff's department. So we couldn't even get to him because he was stuck on the rocks. And he got pretty banged up badly, but the sheriff was able to capture him. But they're fine. So that was a memorable one. My first rescue mission ever was on the Alex Haley. I remember they pipe it over the intercom saying, making a U-turn and we're going back, said whatever nautical miles to pick up a vessel going underwater. And I remember Sanders and I being so excited, like, oh my god, yeah, this is our first rescue mission. Woo! We're going like, we're ready. We're all pumped up. We got our PPE on and we're just ready. By the time we get on scene, we're running search patterns. We're going left and right, up and down and everything. And I don't see absolutely anything. An hour passes by and I see a piece of wood floating on the water, and I report it to the officer in charge. We ran search patterns for what I feel like was probably the whole day. It was a long day, at least mentally, but it probably lasted a few hours that we were running search patterns. And then we finally get the call, like, hey, we're calling it. I was like, what the heck? We didn't see anybody. Like, where's this boat? Like, we were supposed to save people. The officer of the boat decides to pipe everyone all together. And we have a meeting. He lets us know, hey, boat went down. But there was a good Samaritan that was able to pick up 3 out of the 5 that were on the boat. So that was good news to find out that 3 out of the 5 survived. Unfortunately for the other 2, they didn't make it. I was so butthurt that my first mission, and I was so pumped up, and I was like, that's why I joined the Coast Guard, search and rescue, yeah! And my first mission is a flop in my eyes. I'm grateful that those 3 lives did end up surviving, but there's other 2 that didn't make it. That was why we were there, to prevent a scenario like that. The boat can only travel so fast, and they were at so much of a distance, and in Alaskan waters you have 3 minutes before hypothermia kicks in. So it's just, do the math, we weren't there. I remember Sanders and we were just so distraught. He looks at me and I look at him, and we know exactly what that means. We're about to do a 4-hour gym session to let out all of our anger. And sure enough, that's what we did. Yeah, that was my first mission. Did I find any close friends, and how did they shape my experiences? I did find close friends, and they are still my close friends to this day. Sanders, one of my best friends on the Alex Haley when I was in Alaska. Another close friend that I met was actually in A school, and Pittman is my friend. He actually helped me through all of A school. If it wasn't for him, I was not passing A school. We are still good friends to this day, and just two people that I genuinely carry with me throughout my entire life and will continue to carry with me throughout my entire life. You guys are stuck with me, you can't leave. I'll leave you off on a good note. Some advice for my military family out there, my veterans out there. Stay strong. Seek help. Vet center, VA, home base. I have videos for all of these. But honestly, I keep in touch with your buddies. It means a lot to not just you, to them as well. And it's something you guys can still bond over. Like Sanders and I still laugh about stupid stuff we used to do. And it brings back the good memories of what it was like to be in. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you guys actually want to hear the story about how my parents escaped Cuba, which is a cool story, leave a comment down below and maybe I can get that in the works. And if you like the interviews aspect, also give this video a thumbs up. That gives me better statistics wise of what you guys are looking for. And I will see you guys next week. I am your host, Lulu, and this is Vet Hub.